Hi, Dean. We're going to be looking at a little bit of the some of the necessary moves for the mock battle, the practice between Ajije and Irgen, the brother and sister who are Manchu. And there's a reference in the text for a film clip from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. There's a little brief sequence that's pretty good. But what I wanted to do was also sort of show some of the basic fundamentals of movement, and then I'll show the last sequence that we want to end their little confrontation. So Andrew here, who's much more expert than I at Chinese martial arts, is going to show a little bit of how the Dao is used. So if you could just show how it's used off the body.
So the Dao is single-edged, the back is never sharp. Now you do the tip usually. So there's a lot of motions with the hand on the back and also blocking with the forearm. Sometimes you push down, sometimes you push down close with the forearm. It's a very close range weapon. And
stay back, sir.
Alex, you'll leave.
No, you stay back too, because.
Oh, yeah. So, typical block, it's a roof block like in Filipino martial arts, riding off with the forearm, and it cuts down at an angle and ends with the back up against the ribs, which you then leverage the next cut off the ribs, and it rolls. So here. Basics.
And then with the Jin, which we've already looked at a bit, but what you're going to see with the Jin, just some of the basics with the Jin as well.
So blocking is generally done in the lower third. This is not sharp usually. Sometimes they start sharpening about halfway up. Very sharp here. Most of the cutting is done at the tip. Blocking is done down here. So there's a lot of extended movements as opposed to the Dao, which is close to the body. The Jin, sharpen both sides, extend it out. Lots of wrist cuts. A lot of times the tassel is actually used as a training guide so that you can cut on the same plane that the tassel travels first. And you might do a lot of change of level. So I might be fighting up high, and I want to straight low to the groin or to the foot. I might squat a lot.
Okay, so with that said, you're going to see some basics of movement in the beginning where Ajije and Irgen are sort of sparring, and then there's going to be a sequence right at the end. And basically what's going to happen is, let's say after a movement like this, Ajije comes and he thrusts forward. And Irgen blocks. And as she blocks, and cuts at his groin, he blocks down here. Slides his weapon in. And jams it here. Grabs her elbow, and that's where he's saying, sister, you move too impetuously. However, what she does at that point, so we have a little extra here, is she takes that knife and behind her back stabs him in the ribs. Now what we're going to do is just turn around, all the way around. So, just at the moment of, if you will, victory, she points out not necessarily so. Okay? So, just one last time on that sequence. So, he starts with a thrust, which he counters, and he's down here like that. He slides in, grabs, and then comes the stab here, which of course is all abbreviated, and that's the sequence. Okay? Now, so there's one other sequence right at the end, because issue 5, sorry, I'm still talking while I'm moving, but issue 5 doesn't have a lot of action that needs to be choreographed. But right at the end, we've got this confrontation in the palace. Ijun is going to have a nodachi. A nodachi is a super long katana, and I've put some photographs in the script as well, some links. But it's basically going to have a blade that's roughly 4.5 to 5 feet long and a long handle. And he's going to be carrying it in his hand like this. And right at the end, as you'll see in the script, he's in confrontation with Luis and Tazume and all these people. And you can just, Luis is actually going to have the sword still on his sheath. He thinks they're still having a conversation. And all of a sudden, just as the dam blows, Ijun blows as well. Of course, he'll have a European rapier and all that, but just for the sake of a standing. And so what's going to happen is just like we have earlier in, I believe it's issue 3, where we see Ijun cut through a tree. But now with this super long sword, he's going to just be standing here, and all of a sudden he's going to explode. And Luis is just, let's move forward just a little bit, and it just narrowly misses, slicing him from crotch to gizzard, and he just sort of recoils back, and barely, just more, all the way, and he barely gets out of the way, and what we're going to see then in the next issue is a continuation. But what we see at this point is that tip just sort of running up his body and barely missing. And Ijun's in this perfect posture of a cut that's going to then continue into more cuts in issue 6. All right, so that's it for issue 5.